Alright, so we've all been exposed to integers for some time now. We spoke about what integers are. We explained what it means to add and subtract integers. In this lesson, we'll be looking at how we multiply integers and how we come up with the various products we have. Why do we have a negative times a negative number being positive? Why do we have a negative and a positive number also being negative? Alright, so let's quickly begin from a set of questions. So we have 5 times 5, so positive 5 times positive 5, and we have negative 5 times positive 5, and we could also have another variation which is negative 5 times negative 5. We'll be using the Cartesian plane to explain this. That's what we have here. On our board, we first of all have to identify the various quadrants. And to get what the first quadrant is, and first of all, what's a quadrant? From the word quad. Quad means something divided into 4 parts. Just like how we have a quadrilateral. So a 4-sided figure is a quadrilateral. So we have a square and we have a rectangle. Those are quadrilaterals. Alright, so we want to use a quadruplets. Somebody giving birth to 4 kids, twins, triplets, and quadruplets. So that understanding tells us that whenever we divide the Cartesian plane, as we have here, into 4 parts, we would have a quadrant. So each sector is called a quadrant. So the first quadrant, the second quadrant, the third, and then the fourth quadrant. And I would want to show you a simpler way to be able to remember the quadrant, because I realized that over some time some students would want to begin naming the quadrants from this place. So they will name this the first quadrant, second, third, and fourth, and that's not how it is. So you would want to write C as in C for cat. So something like this. So C. I'll be using the Cartesian plane or my sketch graph board here, so I already want to draw that, but you could do that in your book. So C, so the first one begins from, so this is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. So if you should draw a C, you realize that the C begins from here and then end there. So that's how simple it could be. Alright. Now, so let me put it here: first, second, third, and then fourth. If you see this carefully, the first quadrant is 2 positive numbers, so things moving in a positive direction, and then forward and then upwards is positive. So the first quadrant is having a positive value, so plus. The second quadrant is having a negative, so it follows that a positive, negative, positive, positive, negative, positive, negative. So we have this second quadrant being a minus or a negative. We have our third quadrant being positive, and then we have our fourth quadrant also to be negative. All right, so when it comes to multiplication, the idea about multiplying things is how we arrange things. The idea of multiplying things is how we arrange things in groups. How we arrange things in group, and not just playing with numbers. Okay, so when we have, for example, let's start 2 times 3. This simply means 2 groups of 3. So 2 things, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So 2 groups of 3. So we are almost forming a shape. And when we have, let's say, just to remind us, we have 2 times 2, simple. That would be 2 groups of 2. We're forming a shape like this. So if we have something like 5 times 5, we will be forming a shape as well. So let's now quickly transpose this or turn this to the Cartesian plane. So 5 groups of 5. So we have positive 5. This is a positive plane. So let me remind us again. Positive backwards means negative, forward is positive, and then downwards is negative. So forward positive, upwards positive, forward positive, downwards negative, and backwards is also negative. If we have this and we are to multiply 5 times 5, that would be to create a shape with 5 and 5. So since it's positive 5, so we'll go positive 5 times 2 positive times, or we'll go forward 5 times. We'll move forward 5 times. So that would be 1. So let's go forward 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So forward 5 times and then upward 5 times. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So after doing this movement, the various squares that we have gathered in this movement will give us the answer. So let's see how many squares we have gathered in this movement. So that would be, you can see that right from here, all the shapes here. Okay, black. So we'll have everything here. So how many do we have? Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So this simply tells us that we have 25 squares when we move 5 to the right and then when we move 5 upwards. So 25 gives us positive 25. But then how do we know whether it's positive or negative? You'd have to look for the quadrant. So it falls in the first quadrant, and the first quadrant is positive. So positive 5 times positive 5 will give us positive 25. Alright, let's try this for this other value, negative 5 times positive 5. That would mean going to the backwards 5 times and then going upwards 5 times. Backwards 5 and upwards 5. That would be this way. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go upwards 5 times. So 1. Okay, let's use this other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we end here. So how many squares have this encompassed, or how many squares are in this movement, backwards and upwards movement? So let's start right from here. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then 25. So we have 25 squares in this movement. But how do we know whether it's supposed to be negative or positive? It determines, or is dependent on the quadrant in which the value is found. And this is the second quadrant, and the second quadrant is negative. So that would be negative 5 times positive 5 is equal to negative 25. Now let's do the same thing for the third value. That's negative 5 and then negative 5. That would be backwards 5 times and then downwards also 5 times. So backwards 5, downwards 5. So we'll go this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we go like this as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now how many how many boxes have we gathered? Or 5 groups of 5. So we have 5 boxes. We've grouped 5 boxes 5 times. 5 boxes grouped 5 times. So they would have 1 box, 2 box, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So this explains why negative, okay, so we can see negative 5 groups of 5 giving us 25. However, this appeared in the third quadrant, and in the third quadrant we have a positive value. So in the third quadrant we have a positive value. This tells us that our answer is going to be positive. So though this is 25, this 25 is not going to be a negative, but the quadrant, the integer of the quadrant it appears in is positive. Therefore, negative 5 times negative 5 will give us positive 25. And we could do the same thing for the last part here. So I'll be leaving that to you to do, and I want to see your answers in the comment section. So that makes a lot of sense. So this explains why we have multiplication the way we have it, multiplication of integers the way we have it. And I think it's simple. So negative times, so we can now get a rule now. Positive times positive gives you a positive value. Negative times positive gives you a negative value. And negative times negative gives you a positive value. So that's what it means. Thank you, and see you in the next segment. Bye.